Welcome back, everyone. Today, honestly, I do have to be the bearer of unfortunate news. This is not the end of the world, but it's absolutely not the sort of thing that we want to have going on. Look at Resi 4, the remake, of course. Look at it on Steam. And just for a second, note how many DLC items they are. And what's even more crazy, those aren't all skins. Like, maybe you would have expected to be like a fighting game, right? Where there's like dozens of skins. Oh no. Oh no, this is actually quite a bit worse. So here's the deal. Resi 4, the 2023 remake, is an absolutely stunningly good game. It is some of the most fun that I have had in games in ages. Like, from not having actually played the original when it came out, I am absolutely enjoying it, and as a game experience, I can wholeheartedly recommend that you play it. But when bullshit is pulled, bullshit is still bullshit, so that's why we've got to talk about this today. Now, this has been a humongous success. They've got 4 million sales in 2 weeks, which is utterly crazy. The user reviews are incredible. The critic reviews are incredible, and the game does actually deserve all of that. But Capcom have been pulling a little bit of a sneaky, right? You could even say it's a little bit of an Ubisoft in some ways. Now, of course, ways to make a bit more money out of your game, stuff like that, that makes sense. Do you want the Las Plagas formula for your G Fuel? Yes, you can have Leon Kennedy's personalized blend of gamer fuel. Of course you can. Whatever. But here's the thing. This is the list of paid DLC. Now, you take a look at this and you see Leon costume and filter. Alright, that's not that bad. Resident Evil 4, The Mercenaries, it's free. And you know what? It's actually really, really, really fun. What's this? Resident Evil 4 Weapon Exclusive Upgrade Ticket 1. Even, of course, available in bundles of up to 5 for your purchasing, for your purchasing convenience. And this is the thing, I think, that we don't particularly like, these upgrade tickets. Now, if you're not aware, right, from how the game works, you upgrade your guns at the vendor. You upgrade them, eventually the vendor gets a few more upgrades available, and when you keep on upgrading them, you basically have a final upgrade, and those could cost a whole bunch of the in-game currency, or they could just cost you an upgrade ticket. Now, those upgrade tickets are basically, like, in-game. It's a fun enough system. I've actually played with all of this not knowing that any of this DLC existed, right? But it's fun. It feels like a final reward for putting a lot of resources into your gun. Feels powerful, feels fun. You maybe get those resources by doing a whole bunch of the side quests, the secondary objectives in the game. You feel like, okay, I've put the work in, I had a fun time, getting a bit more of a reward. Maybe you feel like you used the gems, or the whole gem socketing into like things to the gems basically get socketed into like cool pieces of jewelry, and then you can sell them for like a multiplier amount of money, and that all feels really good. Right? But here's the deal. You can skip straight to the upgrade and completely breeze through the game because they are selling you power on Steam, where each ticket is £2.50. They can be bought in bundles of 1, 3, or 5, obviously with discounts as you go up. It's not clear, by the way, why the tickets are like separately lettered and segregated on the store. Who knows? But basically, these are shortcut DLC. Now, this was one of the things that we really, as a community, like over a decade ago, in fact, we really tried to fight against this, the whole convenience thing, Oh, this DLC, it's fine because it exists as an option for consumers who don't have as much free time. That was always the thing that they would put forward. Now, if that was really the problem, then maybe you just have a different difficulty balance for your game, right? Maybe you'd have a accessibility option that makes it less grindy, whatever, right? But no, obviously, if it's something that's there in the store, it is there with the intent to be sold. I mean, come on, we were not born yesterday. Now, the thing is, you can just play this game on crazy power fantasy mode if you buy these upgrades, right? And this is especially the case on later playthroughs because the upgrade mechanics are available from a bit earlier rather than in Chapter 9 on your first playthrough. But basically, the sort of thing there is as you're doing more playthroughs, you're trying to get a better score in the various different chapters. That is you naturally upgrading. Those rewards are really just a reward for investing into those weapons, getting to know them. If you then turbo skip all of that by just swiping your credit card, that obviously throws off the actual intended game design. Or is it? Is it the intended game design? That's always the unfortunate bit when DLC like this exists. You always say, well, okay, if you are, if there's friction and you're selling us a way to get past the friction, did you put that friction there in the first place in order to, sell us the solution? Now, I've got to say, the game feels excellently balanced as I've been playing it, but there have actually been some gameplay changes. Now, again, I'm not aware of what the first game actually was like to play. I never played it. I was a PC gamer, never really went near it, didn't play it in the Wii, as I know many people did because of the whole, shooting thing. But yeah, they added side quests to the game, right? And basically, the idea is that, in the original game, you could find these different, medallions in order to get rewards. But now they basically went a bit more whole hog into that. And then you've got the system with the spinels, right? Which are basically just a special currency. And when you get enough of them, it actually feels quite good. You go to the vendor and you can get some more, uniquely interesting or powerful items. And for 30 spinels, you can get yourself an upgrade ticket. Okay, and the way that works is you go, you do the side quests, you get your spinels, and then you can get an upgrade ticket to upgrade one of your guns without having to spend your currency. Okay, so that's basically the design there. But then the thing obviously is that if people want to be skeptical about this, you could say that by designing and implementing a more fleshed out method of engaging with the game, right, and adding a little bit more friction, and then also a mechanic for skipping that friction, that Capcom are in fact just, in these game changes, laying the groundwork to sell you the skipping mechanic, the thing that is sitting there on Steam for you to buy. And it turns out, actually, this isn't the first time that they've done this. And, it's kind of sad, obviously. Capcom have got a really fantastic reputation. They've had really a truly stunningly incredible output that they should rightly be very proud of. But a few of these things have actually crept in. In Resident Evil 3's remake, it included a DLC that unlocked all in-game rewards, including everything in the shop. Yeah, and here it is, if I click this, I bring it up in Steam, Resident Evil 3, all in-game rewards unlock, apparently very positive, which is interesting, and yeah, that's just for $3.99, you can unlock all the difficulty modes, all the models, all the concept art, and then all shop and all obtainable items within. Okay, so to a lot of people, that's not feeling great. In this case, it was launched 4 months after the game came out. That's obviously not the situation here with Resi 4. Then there's also the weird situation with Devil May Cry. This one was honestly bizarre to me. I do remember it being there, but barely. Because it's one of those things where it just seems like, oh, you'll kind of mess up the game for yourself. Now, curiously enough, it has a 94% rating, but hey, only 18 people or 18 reviews, which overall would indicate that not that many people ended up purchasing this. But yes, you can just go and purchase your red orbs. Now, these can be used in the game to acquire new skills and to power up your character, as well as going back into battle after you lose. Basically, that could just get you straight to the end of the skill tree by just buying these orbs. And to a lot of people, that is obviously compromising part of the core game experience. Obviously, you got arcade games where you're putting, for the Americans, you're putting quarters into the machine, and that's giving you a life in your arcade game. And obviously, one of the reasons why arcade games were really hard is because they wanted you to pump more quarters in. One of the reasons why early Nintendo games were pretty damn punishing is because, surprisingly, they wanted to make the game last longer because, especially adjusted for inflation, those old video games were super expensive at the time. So when we feel some of those things coming back into our modern games that, they're selling at such a scale, you really don't think that feels particularly right. But as you go through this, you realize this is actually par for the course for Capcom. Now, is it the most egregious in the universe? I wouldn't say that it is. I mean, if anything, it's that case of like, oh, you can do this and spoil your own fun. If you think about a more insidious option, it would be Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And I believe they actually backtracked on this, but only after quite some time, where people initially playing Odyssey felt like, oh, this is a bit grindy. I feel like I have to grind quite a lot to stay up in the power curve. And then, of course, they go into the shop and they see 50% XP and 50% gold, where Ubisoft basically added, I think it was like another $10 onto the game's price, because if you wanted to play the game with basically a balance that felt reasonable to players, you would purchase that DLC. And that was just, to a lot of people, the idea of like, right, you've shipped an unbalanced version and you've sold me the boost that makes the game feel more balanced. Which, obviously, we're not all going to be a massive fan of. So really, for what's went on here, people are now seeing this upgrade, right? Like the side quests and stuff. And they're basically seeing that as a way in which they are educating us on the value of their DLC. And that's something that people who played Resi 4 back in the day will be, they'll be quite attuned to that. I can certainly say from my experience playing this game fresh, the only thing that I really knew about Resident Evil is you've got the really janky movies, the funny red letter media clips, Chris Redfield punches a rock, 7 and 8 are good. I played one where Leon was in a police station in a remake, and I was terrifically impressed by it for like 2 days, and that's really it. Now, when I played Resi 4, to talk about these new mechanics, were those new mechanics just laying the groundwork for this bad DLC? I can certainly say that I felt that Resi 4 was an extremely engaging game, and I did find engaging with those side quests to be really fun. At the time, I was innocently completely unaware of any form of monetization being tied to this, and doing those was kind of reasonable to me. Even just the simple things of shooting the medallions, like, yeah, it's basically just find the missing item or whatever, but there were times where, like, you could see where the medallion is in your map, but the thing that matters is, like, what cute way have they hidden it? There's one time they hide it under the, like, floorboards of a pier, so you've got to go down and go to a different angle and turn around and shoot the thing. And I don't know, I found it engaging. I liked it. And for me, it worked in this overall loop of adding an additional kind of like resource economy in the same way that I'd be collecting my gems and then trying to inlay the gems in a way that would maximize my profits with the trader, because obviously it's a game, the way that the resource economy is balanced, the more that your guns are powerful, like you really feel that in combat, but you also feel that economically as you, I suppose, increase the value of every bullet that you get via making your guns more powerful. I really did find it to be one of the most like engaging, engaging formats of game. I really think it's a masterpiece piece of work, even though, like, yeah, Leon Kennedy, he's crazy. He's crazy. He's back flipping and front flipping, and it's complete hammy madness, but it is really fun. But now to get to the reaction, which obviously is going to be hitting on more core Resi fans, because obviously I know Resi 4, like, it's the one that really exploded and went like turbo mainstream. So a lot of people are quite obviously not happy. Take this from The Gamer. Resident Evil 4's microtransactions are a disgusting act of duplicity. It's like, man, that's not happy, is it? Yeah, so there's that. Now, plenty of people are not that concerned. Well, here's one. I'm going to be perfectly honest, man. Professional new game is legitimately not fun for me, and the time saved by spending what will probably be like $5 to get Infinite Chicago in Chapter 2 and be able to breeze through it is worth it to get the fun unlocks. Again, for me, constantly being rushed, constantly having to replay huge sections at a time because of limited saves, that just isn't enjoyable for me. So it's the sort of thing where you've got that, but, and this is the bit that it's weird, because for a section of people who play games, this isn't in living memory. We used to have things called cheat codes back in the day. And if you wanted to have it be a little bit more busted, you could turn the cheat code on. And as of course we all learned as kids, cheat codes generally are fun for about half an hour, and then you've just destroyed the game for yourself. Point being, does that feel great? Someone else saying, like I said with DMC5 and the Red Orb bundles, if you want to break your single-player game's progression over your knee for $10, go ahead. But then, I mean, I think that these two things are like, especially this one, this is just talking about whether a game mode is fun or not. And, it's deeper than that. It cuts to like the incentives for developers. Going to another one, all other meta arguments aside, this just feels really off-putting to me and diminishes the team's work in my eye. When I'm playing a game, a big part of my enjoyment comes from appreciating smart design and balancing decisions. That is so true. And seeing the creative and interesting ways developers tackle implementing and balancing game mechanics. Yeah, even like, here's one example. With Pale Beyond, we changed one thing pretty late. There was like basically just one or two things that threw off under certain circumstances a little bit of the resource economy. We fixed that within a week, so it is a fixed thing in the Pale Beyond, which is the game that we published a month and a half ago, developed and published along with our publisher. But like in that week, it was clear that like for the people impacted by that, the balance, be it way too powerful or stupidly punishing, either way would really break the game experience. Especially because, like, for us, failure is supposed to be baked into a run. And I mean failure as in a character dies. There's people who are saying, like, oh, yeah, but, where's the other content? It's like, well, depending what happens to characters, the story's different. And it's just one of those things. If you mess up the balance, actually, a lot of that's not going to be seen. So that is such a vital point. And I think especially for a game like Resi, with how tightly balanced its resource economy is, yeah, seeing all these buy game-altering item for only $1.99 with a click of a button completely takes me out of the experience. It makes me feel like the developers didn't even stand behind the game they designed. It's like a big neon sign reading, "None of the design decisions we made really matter at all. Here you go. Loving the game, but really bummed to see this." Now, for me, it's one of those things where on that, I would say, I didn't notice it. I certainly didn't feel like I would need those playing. And, I decided for my first time in the game to play on the default difficulty, assuming that that would be the thing that they would try to like tightly balance the most. I could totally see myself playing in hard though. But it's one of those things where like, I don't even necessarily think that they compromise their game balance to make this be a thing. I think this is something where they did a proper remake, and then for business reasons, this gets injected in. It never really felt to me like the developers had altered their balance to make something like this be justified. But then again, what do I know, right? I'm not in the room, can't tell. But in fairness, there is one bit of silver lining here, and it's the same thing that's basically given us Ashley as a mouse. I don't know why. It turns out it's like this in fan art as well. All the fan art of Ashley is as a mouse. So yes, there's a mod, right? Because obviously if Ashley gets carried away, you will lose. But yeah, it's a mod where Ashley is turned into a small mouse who just lives on your head, which I suppose means she's not going to be carried away by the cultists as much. But that only exists because mods are possible. And if mods are possible, then at least on the PC platform, don't need any of that shit. I'm playing it on console, but thankfully I've never felt like I've needed this. I've never felt pushed towards this. So ultimately what I will say here is, look, Capcom are behind really so much incredible work in the industry these days. These remakes have been great. Resi 7, great. Resi 8, great. Monster Hunter, great. Devil May Cry 5, great. Like, Capcom have seriously been knocking it out of the park. But this has been happening just that little bit. They've been putting out absolutely incredible content. And for me, it's just that thing. If you want to play in the AAA paddling pool, sometimes you're just going to have to take some stuff. But buying Resi 4 doesn't mean that you have to buy that DLC. All right? And ultimately, my hope here is like, look, I cannot in good conscience not recommend Resi 4. Because I think that if you buy Resi 4, I think that number one, the game is worth the asking price. And number two, I think you'll probably really, really enjoy it. I think you'll come away from that experience being happy. So I can't recommend that you not get the game, but I can point out this and encourage you not to engage in these microtransactions. Ultimately, if people don't buy these, like buying the game and not buying the microtransaction, that I think pretty much keeps you in the straight and narrow, in terms of what you're doing. This is not just a HD remaster. This is a remake. I think it genuinely is worth that asking price. It is a terrific game. But much like with Devil May Cry 5, definitely do not support this stuff. Certainly, I think about Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is a game franchise that is known for grind. It just comes with the territory, and it's a game that is designed, I suppose, to make that grind process fun. But the thing is, if they're willing to sell us these upgrade tokens in Resi, the thing that would be absolutely heartbreaking is, after the success of Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter Rise, we then start to see DLCs for those that are skipping things. Now, obviously, those are multiplayer games, but at the end of the day, if they're willing to do it in this, who the hell's to say that they won't try to put a bit of pay to skip into another absolutely beloved franchise? So, look, it's the sort of thing, it is going on. I really wish that in talking about Resi 4, I was able to just talk about how goddamn good it is, because it seriously is. The minutiae of, just the design of every area, it feels really immaculate. The visuals are fantastic. In terms of their execution, the art direction is absolutely stellar. It's a perfect blend of, it's got its horror elements. It's also really campy and fun. It's just such a fantastic atmospheric romp. It is one of the best experiences in games this year. And for me, of course, I'm only discovering it for the first time. Maybe that colors me thinking that it's particularly great, but I've pretty much heard similar across the board, so it is worth getting. But man, just watch out for this stuff. At least you know not to support it. At least Mercenaries mode, I actually think it's a total blast. Really, really fun. We just don't want the bullshit, man. Okay. What do you think? What have you thought about Resi 4? Are you one of the 4 million? I know that I was. And if 4 million in 2 weeks is anything to go by, I think they will be a very happy bunch indeed. That's it from me. Check out this video next. I'll see you over there.